So yesterday, Giants general manager Joe Schoen had this to say about the quarterback situation for his team.
The expectation is when Daniel's healthy that he will be our starting quarterback. Because I think we're going to have to do something in the quarterback, whether it's free agency or the draft. I mean, just where we are. Tyrod's contract's up. DeVito is obviously under contract, and Daniel, we don't know when he's going to be ready. So, just from an off-season program standpoint, I think that'll be a position that we'll have to look. Again, there's different avenues, free agency or the draft, but we'll have to address it at some point.
So what's interesting about what he just said was he said the expectation is for Daniel Jones to start when he's healthy, but then he also said in basically the same sentence that we're also going to be looking at a quarterback situation potentially to draft one or to get one from free agency. How does that make any sense?
I don't know.
Are you going to draft they have, I think, the fourth or fifth pick, they have the sixth pick right now in the draft. You're not going to get Caleb Williams. You may not get Drake May. You have Penix, you got Bo Nix, you got Jaden Daniels, LSU.
So there'll be a quarterback.
You got a few pieces out there, but those are like first-round starter material there. You're not going to put him behind Daniel Jones. So my guess would be, I disagree with this. I don't know if I fully believe this. They're going to, if he's available, they're going to draft the offensive lineman from Penn State because their offensive line is terrible. It's one of the worst pass blocking in the league. Daniel Jones was getting murdered out there. You also have the opportunity to draft a few wide receivers. The Washington receiver, I believe, is one. I think Mel Kiper has him in the top 4 picks in the draft. I don't know exactly what the Giants are going to do, but I do have a prediction, and I mentioned this, I believe, yesterday, the day before. So Daniel Jones' contract ends in 2027. He's a free agent in 2027, so it runs up into 2026. There is an out at the end of this next upcoming season. So in 2024 or 5, there will be an out for his contract, where the cap hit basically gets cut into 2/3. So a third of the cap hit of next year. By the way, next year is fully guaranteed. I think it's $31.5 million, $33.5 million. Some crazy number for Daniel Jones. And because it's the Giants, and if you take a look at Daniel Jones, he looks visually, looks very, very similar to Eli Manning. And so I said, I did some research. When is this Texas quarterback going to be eligible to be drafted? 2026, and that quarterback is Arch Manning, Cooper Manning's son, Eli and Peyton's nephew. Just because, and the
Giants will want him in the worst way.
I don't know.
Right, the Giants will want that guy in the worst way.
I don't know if I fully believe it, but
another Manning. They got 2 Super Bowls out of Eli Manning,
and they drafted Daniel Jones, who looked like Eli Manning. Visually, he does kind of have some appearances of Eli Manning.
Daniel Jones, he's similar. That's the kind of quarterback they want. They like
Arch Manning. Why not get a legitimate Manning in there?
Yeah.
So that's my prediction.
So you don't think they'll do a quarterback? They'll go offensive line and wait for Arch Manning.
I think because you paid Daniel Jones so much money, $81 million at signing, by the way, $81 million at signing, you're going to try to squeeze every last bit out of Daniel Jones. So that contract, they may need to restructure it in void years down the line to make the cap hit smaller and smaller and smaller if they will keep it. But I definitely would maybe put pieces around Daniel Jones. Build up that offense, because Andrew Thomas is the only key piece. Evan Neal, they still, for some reason, seem okay with keeping. He's terrible. When he blocks, he's blocking his own guys. So I don't know why they're still, have faith in him. I wouldn't. He's terrible. One of the worst offensive tackles in the league. But you need to build that offensive line, get a legitimate one. Daniel Jones, we saw last season, when he actually had a little bit of time, and it was a very, very simplistic offensive playbook. He was dinking and dunking his way, but it was to victory. So yes, while I could rip on Daniel Jones for dinking and dunking and having the lowest average depth of target, you could argue not a lot of talent, not really any talent offensively besides Saquon Barkley, and his offensive line wasn't very good. So maybe you get him a legitimate weapon, you get him a better offensive line. It doesn't need to be the Eagles or even the Colts have a pretty good offensive line or even the 49ers. Just get him one good guard, one good tackle. They already have a tackle, so maybe get another tackle. You have a promising rookie center. Build up the talent and let Daniel Jones cook for a number of years. And then, at the end of his 4-year contract, let him go. He'll be 30 years old in that 2027 season. You bring in Arch Manning. New York goes crazy because they have another Manning in the building. And, I'm not going to say, I'm taking a complete guess. Will Arch Manning ask Eli if he could wear the number 10? To have Manning and 10 back on that jersey.
I would say idea. Probably not. Eli won't let him wear it.
Namath was perfectly fine with Rodgers taking 12.
Yeah. Well, he didn't do it. Right?
He didn't do it. He went back
what number does Arch Manning wear now?
That is a good. I'm not entirely sure. Let's see.
He might wear 18.
He wears 16.
16. So he's right in between there. 10, 16, 18. That's what. Peyton Manning wore 18.
Maybe he could be double Daniel Jones' skill, and there you go. He represents 16 beautifully. So what do you think? Do you think the Giants should be in the quarterback market this season? Or do you think they should stick with Daniel Jones and build up the rest of the team?
I think they should stick with Daniel Jones.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you believe in him?
He had the good season. You got to say that the offensive line really was a sieve. I mean, the first couple of games, he was brutalized. I mean, the Cowboys in the first game, they sacked him, 7 or 8 times?
It was terrible.
It's crazy. I mean, that's got to rattle you a bit to have that happen. And it happened repeatedly, right? And then he got hurt, and he managed to come back, and he got hurt again. So I would still give him another chance. You got all that money invested in him. As you say, build a team. They still need some other pieces. Work on the offensive line, get him a little more protection, and see what can happen.
Would you believe?
I mean, what do you think is going to happen to Saquon Barkley at the end of this year?
The same thing that happened this season.
Franchise tag.
They'll be discussing a contract, and then they'll just franchise tag him.
Yeah.
And then this time, the running backs will make a huge comeuppance about not being paid very well, and you could argue that all day and night.
And then he'll accept it.
And then day one of training camp, he'll be right back in the building.
Yeah.
Maybe for another reconstructed deal where it's $900,000 more in incentives. Maybe. Who knows? But I will say this. Yeah, the offensive line was bad. Against the Seattle Seahawks, whose defense isn't great right now, they sacked Daniel Jones 10 times.
Yeah.
10 times. Not good. Not good at all.
I saw a stat that they only 40 plays this season was Daniel Jones, Waller, and Barkley on the field at the same time.
Well, Darren Waller.
And Thomas as
Andrew
well.
Thomas, yeah. Well, Andrew Thomas was dealing with injuries all season. Waller once again got hurt. That kind of should be expected. He always gets hurt. Saquon Barkley, once again, got hurt. And Daniel Jones had the neck injury. Once again, also injuries could play a factor into this. But it looks like Joe Schoen's happy with Daniel Jones so far. I mean,
maybe the Giants should take a wide receiver. They really don't have much at wide receiver, I don't think.
Right. I think Jalen Hyatt's good, but he's young, so you got to develop him. Sterling Shepard's old. He's more of a locker room guy. Darius Slayton, he's a wide receiver 3, maybe. You don't got a lot. Darren Waller was supposed to be promising.
He's a tight end.
Right. And what's crazy is that I want to make a reference to this later on in the show, but in practice, Darren Waller was cooking the defense. So much so, they had to actually put him on the side and say, okay, take a rest, Waller, so Daniel Jones could throw it to other receivers other than Waller. And then during the season, you didn't have an offensive line.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It is unfortunate, but
I don't think they'll draft a quarterback
in round 1.
No, maybe they'll get one in a lower round.
Yeah.
If there's one out there that's promising, and they don't have to give up too much, in terms of the pick to get him, maybe they'll do that. But I don't think they're going to go for. I don't think they'll go for one of the elite ones in the first round. I think they'll maybe go for that offensive lineman.
Well, maybe you don't even need to because Tommy DeVito, he's cooking.
Yeah. Well, if he wins out the rest of the season, right? Then
if he wins out the rest of the season, they have a chance for the 7th seed. By the way.
Yeah. So
if they win every single game.
Yeah. What's a record left? What they got for a record?
Right now, the Giants are 4-8. They can go 9-8.
Yeah, but who they got left to play?
They're on a bye week right now. Home against the Packers. That'll be an interesting game.
Yeah, they might home against the Packers. They could win that one.
At Saints, the Saints aren't playing very well.
They're terrible.
And then at Eagles.
I don't think so.
Home against the Rams.
Maybe.
And then at Eagles.
At
Eagles might be interesting because if the Eagles basically win out, they could rest.
The Eagles might be resting, yeah. So maybe they get a win there, but then they still wouldn't be winning record, right? Because the Eagles will beat them the first time.
If they somehow, they would be 7-10. I would say 2 losses to the Eagles. If they win every other game, they'd be 7-10.
So that will be a decent recovery from their start, which was horrible.
Yeah.
Right?
They were 1-5.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's very, very bad. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.